So several years ago, back at our old house, I did a video, in addition to a humidifier in my son's bedroom, we also did a plastic milk crate with a wet towel over the heat vent. And the idea behind that was, instead of just blowing dry air from the furnace and then humid air from the humidifier, the wet towel would intercept that dry air and put moisture into it. And the next morning the towel was nice and dry. The key with that was, our old house was hardwood floors, and our new house is carpet, so we can't really just let that wet towel drip on the carpet. So what I came up with was a board to put down so that it goes over the heat vent, so the towel can, if it does drip a little, it can drip down on the board and not get the carpet wet. So here's what it looks like. And just like last time, this is what it looks like the day after. So this was soaking wet last night, and you can see it's completely dry. It is bone dry. It's not just kind of dry, it's completely, it's like cardboard or something. You know, it keeps its shape, it's so dry. And that just shows all the moisture that was in that towel got into the room and no dry air got in. So underneath that is the milk crate, and then here is the board I used. And it's not just any old board, there's a couple things about it. First, it's a hardboard with a melamine surface, so water's not going to get into it. Water will sit on this surface. It's not like a normal piece of plywood where it'll warp and get maybe mold or mildew in it. The next thing is I put a border around it, just a 1/4 inch trim I put on with silicone, and then I put silicone around the edge on the outside and the inside. And the idea with that is not that the towel is really wet, but it's pretty damp and it'll drip, and I don't want it to roll off the edge and get on the carpet. So any water that lands in here, like a tray, is going to sit in here. Now as far as the size, it's 20 by 20, which isn't super critical. You can make it any size you want. I just wanted to make it big enough so this milk crate, when it sits on it and the towel, there's room for the towel to overhang. So you can make it a little bigger if you want. But one key is, you can see it's not centered. Most heat vents are pretty much near the edge of the wall, and ours was 3 inches from the edge of the heat vent to the wall. So you would think you would put this in the center, but you actually put it offset to the top, otherwise it won't fit. So this covers, so our heat vent is right here, and that opening sits right over the heat vent. So the air can sit on that, the milk crate can sit over that, and that can be pushed as far forward as possible. Then you get a nice wet towel and drape it over it. Milk crate dimensions, I believe, are 13 by 13 by 11. The height doesn't matter, but you want to know the inside dimension, because this inner border, it's really tight between the outside of the vent and the inside of this. It'll make it, but it barely fits. The vent is about maybe 11, and the inside of the milk crate is 13. So you don't have a lot of room to play with there, but it does fit over that opening. So every night before bed, this doesn't move. We just leave the milk crate, the tray there, but we do take the towel and wet it down. I put it over the back, and then I'll fold it up. So I don't let the towel just lay there on the board. I kind of fold everything up, make sure it's over the overhang, and just leave it like that overnight. One last thing I wanted to add is, I knew water dripped off of that towel, but I was just taking some pictures of this, and there is quite a bit of water on here. So I'm glad I put a good 1/4 inch lip on it, because there's quite a bit of water sloshing around in here, and because that towel is really dripping water. And again, the next morning it's completely dry on the tray and the towel. So it's nice having this little tray with a good edge on it to catch all of that water dripping off. And there are versions of this on Amazon. There's one that actually sits in the heat vent. It's a little tray that sits in the vent. There's another one that has two jugs that sit over the heat vent. It's kind of the same concept as putting a bowl of water by the heat vent, that you're just trying to pick up that moisture. But we really like the towel because you can get a whole lot. Like that towel is several pounds full of water. By the next day, that's all in the air. Whereas if you're just having a little bowl or a tray or a sponge that sits in the vent, I've seen that where it's like you wet a sponge and put it in the heat vent. It doesn't, all the reviews have said that doesn't really work. I know this works because this is soaking wet right now. There's water dripping off of it. And by the next day, you can see it's completely bone dry. So I know this works really well. Well, I hope you liked the video you just watched. If you did, feel free to subscribe by clicking the button on this side. You can also check out all the videos I've done, the playlist from things I've built, things I've fixed, home repair, 3D printing. And on this side, you can check out a recommended video similar to the one you just watched. And as always, down in the description, I'll put a link to my blog, which has more pictures and more information about the video you just watched. Thanks.